This is Stephanie from Spinstress in the Making, and today I'm going to be working on the number 35 compassion block for the Sewcialites. I'll be doing the 9-inch block, and for that you're going to need, for your background fabric, one 4-inch square and 4 3.5-inch squares, and then for your print you're going to need one 4-inch square and 3 more 3.5-inch squares of your print. And so we're going to start off today with our 4-inch square. I've already drawn a line from corner to corner with my fusion pen, and I'm going to line these up nice and flat. I'm going to be sewing on either side of that line with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'm going to cut, and then I'm going to press towards my dark fabric. And once we've done that, then we'll start laying out the rest of the blocks. So I've finished those 2 blocks, and I've trimmed them down to 3.5-inch half triangle squares. And now we can actually start laying out this block. So I'm going to take my 3 print fabrics, and those are going diagonally from each other right down the middle of this block, just like this. And then you've got 4 of your background prints, and these are going here, 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 here. And then we have, last but not least, our half triangle blocks. So now that we have the block laid out, we can now start sewing this together. So I'm going to sew these strips together first, and then with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and once those have been sewn and then pressed, I'll come back to you, and then we will flip these down, make sure these points end up nice and snug, and sew across with a 1/4 inch seam allowance here. So I'm going to probably press my top and bottoms out towards these edge blocks, and then my center will be pressed in towards my darker print here to get nice little points here and here once we sandwich our whole block together. So like I said, I'm going to sew these 3 together, 1/4 inch seam allowance, and then come back to you. I've finished the 3 different columns of fabric, and now I can start folding them over and sewing with a 1/4 inch seam allowance here and here. And so I have pressed my white fabric in towards my center dark fabric block, and then these 2 panels have it pressed outwards, so that way when I lay these nice and flat together, these lines and creases will line up and sandwich quite nicely. So hopefully I'll get a nice point here and here when I sew these on. So I'm going to sew these 2 lines with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, press them, and then come back to you, and our block will be complete. So this is the finished block of the number 35 compassion block for the Sewcialites. And for the back, I pressed outwards from the center to my edges, just because a lot of these were white on white, or going onto the black. The only outlier is this center piece right here. But it doesn't really seem to show through all that much, so that's a good sign. And that is the second to last block of the Sewcialites. So we are almost done, and technically today is the 18th, so technically if you made the block or kept up with the Sewcialites, you would pretty much be finished today, and I'm planning to do that as well. But very excited to finally be done and actually kept with this project all the way through this multiple month quilt along. So I'm very excited to probably maybe film a video of me cutting out the rest of the pieces of fabric for this top and then laying it out and sewing together, and maybe showing you guys the progression of that. But as always, if you like this, please like and subscribe to my channel so I can bring you more content, and stick around for that last block, which will be filmed later today as well. Thank you so much, and happy quilting!